What's up, YouTube? Zero here, and today I have an amazing Ultra Beast deck that's focused around Poison type and Dark type Pokemon in Pokemon TCG Pocket. In this video, I'll go over the deck build that's on the left-hand side of the screen. I'll talk about each of the cards individually, and I'll talk about why each of these cards play really well with each other and how you can win with this deck. There are multiple ways to win with this deck, some faster than others, but even if the game goes on long, you still have a great opportunity to win with this deck. Before I get into it, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. I do a bunch of other video games, so feel free to check those out as well. Thank you so much in advance for doing so. It does really help out me and my channel. Without further ado, let's talk about this deck build. And I want to focus right now to start on the Poison type Pokemon. Let's start out with the Poison side of this deck. So first, Nihilego. If you don't know about Nihilego already, you're about to find out how good it can be. So Nihilego does have one move for 1 dark energy, 1 colorless energy, new wave for 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is also now poisoned. That's not the bread and butter of Nihilego though. Nihilego has an ability more poison. Your opponent's active Pokemon takes plus 10 damage from being poisoned. So with one Nihilego on the playing field, does not have to be in the active slot, can be on the bench as well. With Nihilego just on the field, instead of your opponent taking 10 damage from poison, it now takes 20 damage from poison. If you have 2 Nihilegos on the playing field, your opponent now takes 30 damage from being poisoned. That's absolutely crazy considering poison takes effect at the end of each player's turn. So if your opponent doesn't handle being poisoned, either by evolving, utilizing a card to heal themselves of poison, or by pulling their Pokemon back to the bench, you are going to completely eat through your opponent's health by having 2 Nihilegos on the field. Even 1 Nihilego is really decimating your opponent's health. So that is the poison side of the deck, and it really does start with Nihilego. But let's talk about the other Pokemon in this deck that poisons. Nihilego is the start of it and really does help out with getting your opponent poisoned and doing a lot of damage as quickly as possible. Now let's talk about Naganadel. Naganadel is absolutely amazing. It's a stage 1 Pokemon for 1 dark energy Electro House. Deals 40 damage. However, it also poisons your opponent's Pokemon. So Naganadel, very easy to evolve into and attack with because it is only 1 energy. And you're able to get that poison away. So if you're able to start off with the evolution line of Naganadel and you have a Nihilego in your hand, or even 2 Nihilegos, you're really going to start off strong, dealing a lot of damage, especially poisoning your opponent's active Pokemon. This is going to be a really quick way to victory utilizing Nihilego and Naganadel. Now, of course, Naganadel evolves. It evolves from Pupil. So you need 2 of those in your deck for 1 dark energy, 2-step, flip 2 coins. The attack does 20 damage for each heads. Now every Pokemon that I've mentioned so far, and every Pokemon in this deck, is going to be from the extra dimensional crisis packs. If you are looking for these Pokemon, they're all Ultra Beasts. This is an Ultra Beast centered deck. So look in that extra dimensional crisis packs for these cards. Now on top of those poisonous cards, Nihilego and Naganadel, I also have Poison Barb. I already mentioned that Nihilego works wonders when your opponent is poisoned. I have Poison Barb to poison my opponents when I don't have Pokemon that attack with poison. Nihilego and Naganadel are able to poison. However, the other Pokemon in this deck are not able to poison. That's where Poison Barb is going to come into play. Poison Barb, I'm going to equip on my active Pokemon. If my opponent attacks, it's going to poison them. And so if I have a Nihilego on the field or two Nihilegos on the field, I'm going to really start eating through my opponent's health without even having to tackle, which is absolutely awesome. So for those of you who don't know, Poison Barb, if the Pokemon the card is attached to is in the active slot and is damaged by an attack from the opposing Pokemon, the opposing Pokemon is now poisoned. And Poison Barb is going to be found in the Celestial Guardians Lunala packs. Now let's talk about the two other Pokemon in this deck that don't deal poison. They are insanely good though and work really well in this deck. I'm going to talk about Guzzlord because Guzzlord deals a lot of damage and is a really great Pokemon to have, a really solid Pokemon. It has two moves. The first one is Grindcore for 30 damage, 2 colorless energy. So you don't even need it in a dark deck for Grindcore to take effect or be able to attack. However, you're definitely gonna want it in a dark deck because it does have Tyrannical Hull, which I'll get to in a second. But Grindcore is absolutely amazing. Grindcore not only deals 30 damage, but you flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So essentially you're getting 2 for 1. Not only are you attacking and getting 30 damage, but you also have in effect a Team Rocket grunt every turn you attack with Grindcore, which is pretty awesome to have. You are, if you're attacking with Grindcore, have an opportunity to quote unquote play 2 trainer cards because Grindcore has a trainer card built into it by having the opportunity to maybe take away energy equipped on your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's pretty awesome. On top of that, Guzzlord EX for 4 energy, 3 of which are dark, Tyrannical Hull deals 120 damage. So that's going to be your damage dealer, but never count out Grindcore and how amazing it can be to take away energy from your opponent's Pokemon. Energy is, of course, a key to winning, especially when you're facing a Pokemon that needs a lot of energy to attack. For example, in this clip, I'm facing a Charizard. If I had my Guzzlord out there and I wanted to try and really slow down the Charizard, I attack with Grindcore and maybe I'll get lucky and get rid of 2 or 3 energy, preventing that Charizard from attacking me. So that's what Grindcore can do for Guzzlord, is really save some HP, really put your opponent in a hole. So I absolutely love Guzzlord. It's an absolutely amazing card to have. Last but not least is Celesteela. Celesteela is a fantastic card, and not because of its attack. Its ability is the reason why it's in this deck. So its ability for Celesteela is Ultra Thrusters. Once during your turn, you may switch your active Ultra Beast with one of your bent Ultra Beasts. That's phenomenal. That's essentially Leaf, but enhanced. Because Leaf only makes it so the retreat cost is 2 less, Celesteela can essentially get a free switch in and out of any Pokemon on your playing field that's an Ultra Beast. Well, this deck, this team that I put together is all Ultra Beasts. So I get free switch in and outs whenever I want. If I want Guzzlord in there, Guzzlord's been on the bench, I finally got it powered up and I want it in the active slot, I don't have to worry about wasting energy or equipping extra energy. You can see Naganadel is 2 retreat costs, Nihilego's 1 retreat cost, Celesteela is 4 retreat costs. I don't have to worry about utilizing energy to having my Pokemon retreat. I can just use Celesteela and retreat and put into the active slot whatever Pokemon I need. It's absolutely awesome, and it also almost makes Sabrina pointless. Sabrina, yes, it can draw out a Pokemon from the bench, but the next turn you can put that Pokemon back on the bench if you don't want it there. So it really does help to avoid having your opponent put a Pokemon in the active slot just because it has a high retreat cost. That's not going to matter. So I love Celesteela. It's a phenomenal card to have. Now let's talk about some of the added cards in this deck. So first, a couple of the basics. Pokeball, you're going to draw out basics from your deck into your hand. Very important, the majority of this deck is basic Pokemon, so it's going to allow you to get to the Pokemon you need quicker, whether it's Guzzlord, Nihilego, Celesteela, etc. That's going to be pretty important. Professor's Research, you draw 2 cards. Of course, that's pretty important as well because you're going to get to all of the cards in your deck quicker so you can implement your strategy. Next, let's talk about Cyrus. Cyrus is critical for this deck. Cyrus, for those of you who don't know, you switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has damage on it into that active slot. Cyrus is going to be critical for this deck. You're going to be dealing damage, but you're not going to be dealing enough damage to one-hit KO a lot of Pokemon. It's really whittling away your opponents with poison that's going to hurt them. But what's going to happen is you're dealing so much poison damage that your opponent is probably going to retreat their Pokemon to the bench to heal them from poison. Well, Cyrus isn't going to allow those Pokemon to stay on the bench. Cyrus is going to draw those Pokemon back into the active slot so you can attack them again and poison them again. So having 2 Cyrus are critical in this deck. It's really going to help you make sure that the opposing Pokemon that's damaged that you want in that active slot is going to be there. And you can find Cyrus in these Space-Time Smackdown Palkia packs. Last but not least is Lusamine. Lusamine is a phenomenal card, especially in Ultra Beast decks. It only works with Ultra Beasts. But Lusamine, you can use this card only if your opponent has gotten 1 point. However, choose one of your Ultra Beasts, attach 2 energy, random energy from your discard pile to that Pokemon. Guzzlord with 4 energy does take a little while to build up. However, if your opponent has already gotten a point, Lusamine is going to help you put that energy onto Guzzlord a lot quicker, allowing you to attack for 120 a lot quicker, which is going to be great, especially because 4 energy is a lot of energy to get equipped on a Pokemon. It takes a long time. Lusamine is going to cut that time in half so you can deal with your damage dealer as quickly as possible. This deck is really built a lot around dealing poison and whittling your opponent down as quickly as possible. However, that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes you're going to need Guzzlord out there dealing a massive amount of damage. Lusamine is really going to help you get that massive amount of damage on your opponent's Pokemon so you can get through some of the stronger Pokemon a lot quicker. And Lusamine is also, like the Ultra Beasts in this deck, found in the Extra Dimensional Crisis pack. I absolutely love this deck. It's a great way to whittle down your opponents, really beating them down with poison, knocking them down really quickly to begin the match. However, poison isn't the only way that you can win with this deck. Guzzlord is absolutely phenomenal, really being 2 cards in 1. You can utilize Grindcore to eliminate some of the energy that your opponent has built up on their active Pokemon. When you finally get that opportunity, whether it's just through time in itself equipping energy or utilizing Lusamine, you can hit for 120 after equipping enough energy. On top of that, if you equip Poison Barb on Guzzlord and you have a Nihilego or two on the playing field, you're really going to make your opponent hesitate attacking you, because that's going to quickly eat through your opponent's health, dealing 20 or 30 poison damage thanks to Nihilego at the end of each player's turn. This deck is absolutely phenomenal, and I've won a lot with it. I have a lot of fun utilizing this deck. Definitely check this deck out and let me know what you think in the comments section. Have you utilized something similar to this deck? Like I said, it's great. Poison damage is really fun right now, and it's in a lot of decks. Poison Barb, Nihilego is a staple of a lot of decks. I've seen it a lot. This is a great deck for both Poison Barb and Nihilego to be in. Let me know the changes you'd make. What would you put into this deck to make it better, and what would you take out? Let me know in the comment section if there's a Pokemon or a couple of different cards that you'd like to see in a deck. I'll come out with a deck roughly that you're looking for. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until next time, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Peace.